to my talk about the long-term challenge of climate protection, where I want to show how energy efficiency in production supports the reduction of carbon emissions. I'm Thies Uwe Trapp, Senior Consultant at Bosch Connected Industries. We at Bosch have identified 6 dimensions of sustainability, and the climate is our utmost prioritized. From 2020 on, Bosch will be climate neutral in terms of the volume of energy it generates and purchases, which is here the scope 1 and 2 in aspect 1 of the climate dimension. In the scope 3, which is aspect 2 of the climate dimension, we plan to reduce carbon emissions by 15% by 2030, which is about the products purchased, the logistics, and the use of products sold. Climate neutral from 2020 on. How did we achieve that? It's obvious the easiest way to reduce emissions is reduce consumption of energy. And so since 2007, we have reduced the energy consumption by 30%. And we have reduced the emissions by 50% relative to our turnover. And in 2020, we have set a new target for us. We will save another 1,700 gigawatt hours by 2030 by investing more than 1 billion euro. Aspect 2 of energy, we will increase the volume of power from renewable sources from 55 to 400 gigawatt hours. And for this, we will considerably extend the electricity bought in from new plants by 2030. So we had a journey already, and we have made a lot of findings from our internal journey on energy and carbon. Many concepts are proven across 250 Bosch sites worldwide. And as a leading provider and a leasing user, we make the proven methodology available for you. For this, we have created our energy efficiency toolbox. With a full potential diagnostic toolkit, we identify use cases throughout the plants. These use cases can be found in manufacturing processes like shutdown management or parameter optimization, just to name these 2. They can be found in environmental settings like lighting, ventilation, heating, or air conditioning. And last but not least, they can be found in technical upgrades of equipment. Besides the technology topics, we can find some economics use cases as well. These don't save any emissions, but they save money. This toolbox we put on the base of the Connected Industry Energy Platform, which supports in finding transparency, finding data, and has some tools inside for autonomously controlling energy consumption. Less technical, we get into the target deployment and continuous improvement processes. And we take a look into governance. Governance is a very important topic for a big company to ensure that the best practice sharing can happen and that things that have been proven working well already can be used throughout the whole company. The use cases we find throughout infrastructure, process, and organization, as said before. And I've put some savings on the right side, just to name a range where we found it in our locations or in our customer sites. I'd like to show just one of these, which is my absolute favorite, and this is about the ventilation use case. The ventilation use case is so nice because it shows the combination of hardware topics, of software topics, and the use of data. So in former times, ventilation was done with a big fan and a belt drive. And this belt drive had high maintenance efforts. So you had to exchange the belt sometimes, you have to do a lot of cleaning and so on. And for air-conditioned areas, you have to have a redundant infrastructure to keep it running during maintenance. Our optimization approach was to replace the fan with a fan grid. We use direct-driven fans and some of them put together to create the overall flow. Using a fan grid leads to the situation that you can gradually adjust the airflow based to your needs. And the direct-driven fans just need less energy and much less maintenance. So with this hardware part of the use case, we have put in the software part, which is the integration of production workload data, energy platform, and sensors for air quality. And with this, we create a tailored ventilation concept. And the result is seen on the right side. Upper graph on the left is former times when we had always on high energy consumption. And on the right side, you can see that we switch off or reduce airflow based on the needs in the plant. And besides, if you don't have production workload data from your machines, and if you don't have sensors for air quality, you can do a small first step and use the clocking data of your people to know how many people are in the building and put the logic on top of that data. Optimize ventilation, and you can see the figure in the center, 1,500 tons of carbon emissions reduced per year in just one plant. And this is what it's all about. Taking a look back, not only on the technology, I'd like to talk a little bit about the challenges that energy management addresses. The first challenge we identify is the priority of targets. We all think of productivity and quality as our main drivers. But if you take an integrated target deployment and you put energy efficiency topics and emissions topics into your target deployment, your leadership will be able to handle this probably conflicting targets. We have the challenge of volatility and system complexity. And with our energy platform, we have a tool in place with connectivity to make the complexity easier to handle with excellent user guidance. We have the challenge of increasing energy prices. But with the improvement that we have by optimizing consumption costs by own generation and by savings, we can cover this challenge as well. And last but not least, we all have resource scarcity when it comes to budget or manpower. And we have found a way of organizing ourselves with a comprehensive approach and with a user-oriented communication to make these things happen. To sum it up, I hope I was able to show that energy efficiency in production has a very big lever on the carbon emissions that we create, and that working on it will be a very important part of the long-term challenge of climate protection. If you'd like to learn more, stay in touch. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot here from us out of the center in Stuttgart as well. Coming to questions from the audience, obviously this is a topic of high interest for many companies, for many company leaders. And probably we can kick off this little Q&A with a question that's on many people's mind. Everybody wants to get started, right? So, what are the first steps? What are maybe the low-hanging fruits in CO2 reduction? What are like some of the things that come to mind that can, companies do for a start?
Well, there are two things I would say are very good to start with. The first one is talk to your people, take them along on the way. We have talked about the routes already, and make them switch off whatever is possible to switch off. We have had an approach there to really make it visible on each machine what can be switched off if the machine is not in use. And we are covering this in our lean approach as well. So take your people along, make them aware, just with your kids at home, switch off the light if you leave the room. That's the easy first step to make a mindset happen in your company. And the next one is take a look around. What is really your consumer, and which machine is consuming the most, which process is consuming the most, and what can you change on that? You will find one, which is the top consumer. And if you don't find it, you need more sensors and more data to find it out. But these are the first two steps I would take. Take your people along on the road and create the mindset, and afterwards find the big consumers and work on them.
Great, thanks a lot. And the next question that comes to us through Slido is, if a manufacturing company decided today that they wanted to reduce CO2 with energy management, how long would it actually take until they see the first results?
I would say it depends on the size of what you want to take a look in. Usually, I would say when we start a consulting project on such a topic, we say that within 4 weeks, we find the highest priority topics to address. And based on that, we can make a timeline when the first use case can be realized. So overall, I would say if you start now, you can have immediate success with switching off whatever possible. And if you want to take a look into the biggest consumers, let's say it's about 3 months that you have first good results.
Great. And since you mentioned your kids at home or some people's kids at home, what's your personal approach in terms of energy saving? Somebody wants to know here from our audience. In your job maybe, or maybe also at home?
So in my job, yes, it comes back to switching off everything. So I switch off the LED screen when I go home. Don't let it stay in standby. It consumes energy anyway. Switch it off. This is what I do in the office and at home. I'm exchanging light bulbs, for example, in the moment, taking away and bringing in LED for energy consumption reduction. It's the one thing, and one easy thing, and very small topic, but I'm cooking at home with gas, but I changed to an electric kettle for boiling the tea. So, and in electricity, I have the energy from water, and so this is already carbon neutral. And this is how I want to change my personal life step by step. Next step will be driving a hybrid car to reduce emissions, and so on and so on. So it's a lot of small steps that everyone can take.
Great. Thanks a lot for these insights and for these small steps towards CO2, the reduction of CO2 emissions. And I think that's a very honorable topic to talk about. Thanks a lot for these insights.
Thanks, Britta. Thank you for having me.
Thanks a lot.